So here we are, we're another step closer to getting the car started. I'm a little disappointed in Napa. Somewhere in the transition of ordering a belt, they lost it. So I still don't have a belt for my car yet. But anyway, so today we're going to put some fluids in there, and I'm just waiting for them to call me about getting me another belt. I don't know why I didn't just change the filter while I had the engine out, but I'm just going to change it quick. But I thought I would show you this. If you don't have one of these pans, they're great to have, especially on the K series, because the oil filter's in a horrible spot, makes a big mess. So what I do is I just put this pan underneath the car, just make sure it's underneath, because when you take this oil filter off, oil just kind of goes everywhere. So I'm just going to reach in there and pull that oil filter off quick. It's pretty much dry because, you know, it's a junkyard engine. From there, I'm going to grab my new stuff. Now, usually I'm all about Castrol. Castrol's it for me. But, because I don't know this engine, and I just got it, basically I'm going to run just whatever the special was. In this case, I purposely picked a synthetic blend, and I'm going to rock a Bosch filter, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a synthetic blend for, you know, a couple hundred miles, and then I'm going to do an engine flush, put some chemicals in there, run it for a couple minutes, and then flush it out, and then I'm going to switch it to the Castrol full synthetic, which I normally run. So I'm going to go ahead and put this filter on, and then we will put some oil in, and then we're going to move over to the transmission. Alright. You want to make sure that your drain plug is nice and tight. Yep, drain plug's tight. Another trick for doing your oil is stab the oil in the back of the handle here. Open that up. Doesn't have to be huge. What that's going to do is it's going to allow air to circulate so that the oil pours out of here nice and smooth. It's very, very good thing to get used to doing. Alright. Let's put in some oil, and then we'll move over to the tranny. Alright, as for our tranny here, I'm going to walk you through this. This is what you want to do for a transmission flush. I actually change my transmission fluid every other oil change. But you know, piss pound my car, I take it to the track. I love racing it. So I like keeping the fluids fresh. But basically, you're going to want a couple things. One, you're going to want a funnel with a long tube on it. Some of you might actually want to even put a hose on this and extend it even longer. But for me, and for most of you that have a cold air intake and no air box, this will work just fine. And then B, you're going to need a 17 millimeter and a ratchet. And the ratchet, actually, you're going to want to use just the open head. So I'm going to grab the camera and I'm going to show you our two bolts that we're working with here. So, now we got some light down here. Alright, this right here is our drain plug. It's a 17 millimeter. It's located to the right of the axle. Alright, so we're going to take this out to drain our fluid. And if you come underneath, alright, you're going to see this crazy looking plug here, and it's a square. For that's where you actually will drain your fluids out of. But for that little guy, that's where you're going to want to use the open wrench. And you're going to want to put it on there. Now, my fluid's already drained, so I'm actually going to make sure that this is tight. Alright, but this is where you would open your transmission to drain your fluid. and all you do is use the open end of your ratchet. Alright, so that's closed. Again, I moved my metal pan over here because in this case we're going to fill it until it pours back out. Alright, so let me grab the camera here and grab my mount. For right now, I'm a fan of the genuine Honda manual transmission fluid. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this drain plug out. Alright, so here's our drain plug. Set it off to the side, and we're going to take our tube and we're going to stick it in that hole. Alright. Alright, now there's our filter. And what we're going to do here is, actually what we're going to do is, the first one will go in no problem. It takes a little less than 2 quarts. So I'm just going to start pouring this in there. Yaddy-dotty. Making sure it's going in. How you guys doing? You enjoying these videos? I'll tell you something. I started making them and they were kind of fun. They're still fun to make. It's just time consuming. But I'd like to thank all of you guys who are watching these. Thank everyone who subscribed to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. Alright. Hopefully we'll get this thing started real soon. I actually really like the smell of training fluid. It's kind of odd, but I do. Alright, so there's one. Alright, now, it takes, I don't know, if I had to take a guess, it's like 1 5/8, something around there. Not 2 full ones. So what we're going to do now is, we're going to start pouring this in there. About halfway through, I'm going to start going really slow. And what you want to watch is for the fluid to start dripping back out where the funnel's going in. Basically, on a manual transmission, you just fill it till it's topped off. There's no dipstick to check. There's no, filters or anything. So what I'm doing is I'm just slowly pouring it in there. And actually, I can see it dripping back out already. Alright, so now it's slowly dripping back out the hole. I'm going to go ahead and set this down. I'm going to grab my plug. And now, just going to put the plug in. Pull my filter out. Alright. Grab my ratchet here. Yeah. Alright, and we're just going to tighten it down. Alright, so that's tight. Topped off. Like I said, it makes kind of a mess. So just make sure that you have that pan underneath to catch the dripping. And then I'm just going to go ahead and reach in here. I'm going to wipe down some of this other fluids that's spilled. Alright. And you you just did a transmission fill. And if this was the first time flushing too, you just did a flushing fill. So, on to the coolant. I have a lot of coolant to fill, it sucks. Alright. Alright, so this part is actually kind of tough. There's a lot of people I've heard, in my own experience too, with the K24, it's a lot easier to get air bubbles in your coolant system, so just be patient. But I actually have a lot of coolant I need because I also have the aftercooler, so I have to fill up, my aftercooler cord with coolant and then my coolant system reservoir tank. But I'm going to be using the OEM Smurf Blood, that's what I call it, because it's blue, it's a lot of fun. Basically, what we're going to do is just grab your funnel, stick that in there. I'm going to start with the radiator here. Start filling this beast up. Make sure that all your petcocks are closed, because we open them to drain everything. All your hoses are connected tight. Alright, so it looks like it's up pretty high right now. So what I like to do is I'm just going to put the cap back on here. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab this hose and squish it and lift it. Help circulate it through. You can hear there's a lot of air pockets in there. So I'll have to regularly keep checking up on it, and the more you drive it, hopefully get those air bubbles out. But the car's also jacked up right now, so it's not even. Alright, so we'll consider this one done for now. So now I'm going to go ahead, place the filter on there. I'm going to start filling up my condenser for my aftercooler. Fill my aftercooler here. I'm going to fill the reservoir now too. Always make sure that I got fluid in there. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is after I fill this, I'm going to put my battery back together quick. And I'm just going to turn on my accessories so I can turn the pump on. Alright, like I said, I'm going to go ahead, put my battery back together. And I'm going to turn the key to the on position. Aha! Get the pump moving. So, the pump's on. You can hear it kicking. Fluid's going through. Good. Alright, so I'm just going to have to keep checking up on that one too. And the more I drive it, the more the air bubbles will come out. Plus I've got the car, like I said, tilted, so you can't really fill it accurately. And that's all my fluids. Just waiting for a belt and I can start this thing.